There is something in your bedroom right now, something most people consider completely harmless, something millions of people fall asleep next to every single night. It sits in the corner of the room, or it hangs on the wall directly across from your bed. And while you sleep, it is doing something to your body that nobody ever thought to warn you about. Not to your dreams, not to your comfort, to your hormones, to your heart, to the architecture of your sleep itself. Most people who sleep with the television on believe it helps them. The noise is comforting. The light feels familiar. The voices feel like company in the dark. But what is actually happening inside your body while that screen glows is something else entirely. The question nobody ever asks is why. Think about last night. Perhaps you fell asleep on the sofa, or you climbed into bed and put something familiar on in the background. A program you have seen before, something that does not demand attention, something that simply fills the silence. At some point your eyes closed, your breathing slowed, and you drifted off. The television kept going, the light kept flickering, the volume kept running at whatever level you had set, and you felt fine this morning. A little tired perhaps, but fine. Here is what you did not feel. You did not feel your melatonin production dropping within minutes of the screen staying on. You did not feel your cortisol rising in the small hours of the morning. You did not feel your heart rate failing to reach its nightly resting low. You did not feel your brain abandoning the deep sleep stage it needed most. You felt nothing, but your body registered all of it, precisely, measurably, every single night. To understand what a television does to your sleeping body, you first need to understand light. Not light as you experience it, light as your brain processes it. Your brain has a specific region responsible for regulating your biological clock. It is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The suprachiasmatic nucleus sits in the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a small but extraordinarily powerful structure at the base of your brain. The suprachiasmatic nucleus receives direct input from your eyes, specifically from photoreceptors in the retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells are not responsible for vision. They do not help you see shapes or color. Their only job is to measure light levels in the environment and to report those levels directly to your biological clock. When light levels are high, these cells send a signal. The signal says one thing: it is still daytime. Do not release melatonin. Do not open the repair window. Do not begin deep sleep. Keep the body in waking mode. Now here is what makes this relevant to your television. In 2014, researchers at Harvard Medical School published a landmark study on light and sleep. The team was led by Dr. Charles Kaesler. His team found that exposure to light-emitting screens in the hours before sleep suppressed melatonin production by up to 22% compared to reading printed books. Participants who read on screens took significantly longer to fall asleep. They spent less time in rapid eye movement sleep. REM sleep is the stage during which emotional processing and memory consolidation occur. They felt significantly sleepier the following morning, even after equal hours in bed. But Kaesler's study measured screen exposure before sleep. What happens when the screen stays on throughout the entire night is considerably more disruptive than his study even captured. Because the light does not stop when you close your eyes. Your eyelids are not blackout curtains. Light passes through them. The intrinsically photosensitive cells in your retina continue registering that flickering glow, and your brain continues receiving the same signal. It is still daytime. Stay alert all night. In 1958, a dermatologist named Lerner was working at Yale University School of Medicine. He was not studying sleep. He was studying skin pigmentation. Specifically, he was investigating a substance that had been extracted from the pineal glands of cattle. That substance had been shown to lighten the skin of frogs by causing pigment cells to contract. Lerner spent 4 years processing approximately 250,000 cattle pineal glands. He worked methodically, painstakingly, extracting and purifying the active compound, In 1958, he isolated it. He named it melatonin, from the Greek melos meaning black, and the hormone serotonin, from which it is derived. Lerner had no idea what he had found. He thought he had identified a skin-lightening compound. He had actually identified the hormone that governs the entire human sleep-wake cycle. The hormone that coordinates every repair process in the body. The hormone that tells every organ when the maintenance window has opened. He published his findings. The scientific community noted them with interest. And then, for nearly 2 decades, melatonin remained a curiosity. A skin compound isolated from cattle glands. Nothing more. It was not until the 1970s that researchers began connecting melatonin to sleep regulation. Not until the 1980s that its role in the circadian system became clear. Not until the 1990s that the connection between artificial light and melatonin suppression was properly understood. What Lerner had found in those cattle pineal glands in 1958 turned out to be one of the most important molecules in human physiology. And the thing that suppresses it most effectively in your body every night is the same technology that most people use to help themselves fall asleep. The television flickering in the dark at the foot of your bed. There is a second mechanism operating while the television runs through the night. It has nothing to do with light. It operates through sound, and it is considerably less understood by the general public. Your auditory system does not switch off when you fall asleep. This is not a design flaw. It is a survival mechanism. Your sleeping brain continues monitoring sound in your environment throughout the entire night. It does this through a structure called the auditory cortex. The auditory cortex processes incoming sound even during sleep. It evaluates each sound for threat relevance. Familiar sounds are categorized quickly and dismissed. Unfamiliar or unpredictable sounds trigger a brief arousal response. Now consider what a television produces. Changing voices, shifting music, sudden volume changes between programs and advertisements, unpredictable emotional content ranging from calm conversation to dramatic sound effects. Every one of these changes requires your auditory cortex to evaluate and categorize the incoming signal. Every evaluation costs something. A 2016 study published in the journal Sleep examined the effects of environmental sound on sleep architecture in adults. The study measured brain wave patterns during sleep in quiet conditions versus conditions with background television noise. Participants in the television condition spent significantly less time in slow-wave sleep. Slow-wave sleep is the deepest stage of non-REM sleep. It is the stage during which growth hormone is released. It is the stage during which your lymphatic system operates at maximum capacity. It is the stage during which bone repair, immune cell multiplication, and cardiovascular recovery occur most powerfully. Participants in the television condition showed measurably more frequent microarousals. Microarousals are brief moments of brain activation during sleep that the sleeper does not consciously experience. They do not wake you, but they pull you out of deep sleep repeatedly throughout the night. Each microarousal resets the depth of your sleep. You cycle back toward lighter stages. The deep sleep window narrows. The repair processes that depend on it are abbreviated. Now add the light suppressing your melatonin and the cortisol elevation that follows disrupted sleep. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. Elevated nocturnal cortisol has been directly linked to increased cardiovascular risk in adults over 50. A 2020 study published in the European Heart Journal found that adults with consistently elevated nighttime cortisol showed measurably higher rates of arterial stiffness over a 5-year period. Arterial stiffness is one of the primary contributors to hypertension and cardiac events in older adults. The television is not simply disrupting your sleep. It is elevating a hormone that stiffens your arteries, night after night, for as many years as this has been a habit. Here is what I want you to understand about your body specifically. Every night you fall asleep with the television on. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus receives a continuous signal through SUMS. Your closed eyelids, It is still daytime. Maintain alertness. Suppress melatonin. Your pineal gland obeys. Melatonin production is reduced. The signal that opens your body's repair window is weakened. Your lymphatic system does not fully activate. Your brain does not completely clear the amyloid beta that accumulated during the day. Your growth hormone pulse is blunted. Your bones do not receive the full repair signal they were designed to receive between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Simultaneously, your auditory cortex is processing the changing sounds from that screen. Microarousals are pulling you out of deep sleep repeatedly. Your cortisol is elevated above its designed nocturnal low. Your arteries are receiving a nightly dose of a hormone that gradually stiffens them. Your heart rate is failing to reach its full resting low. Your cardiovascular recovery is incomplete. And through all of this, you feel nothing. You wake up, you feel mildly tired. You assume that is simply how mornings feel. It is not. It is what your body feels like when its repair window has been partially closed by a glowing rectangle at the foot of your bed. The adjustment here could not be simpler. Turn the television off before you sleep, not on a timer, before you sleep. The timer still runs the screen for however long it takes you to drift off. That window of light and sound before sleep is exactly when your melatonin suppression begins. If silence feels uncomfortable, try this instead. Brown noise or white noise played through a speaker with a screen off. These sounds are non-linguistic. Your auditory cortex categorizes them as environmental background. They do not trigger the same evaluation response as changing voices. They do not suppress melatonin. They actually reduce the frequency of microarousals, compared to silence in some individuals. If you use the television as a sleep aid because silence feels anxious or lonely, that feeling is real and valid. But there are alternatives that give your body the dark and the quiet it needs, without the cost. An audiobook through a speaker, a radio program at low volume on a sleep timer, familiar music that does not change dramatically in volume or tone. None of these require a glowing screen. None of them tell your brain it is still daytime. Your body was designed to sleep in darkness and relative quiet. It has been sleeping that way for the entire span of human history. The television has existed for 70 years. Your biology has not caught up. It was not designed to. Aaron Lerner spent 4 years processing 250,000 cattle glands in a Yale laboratory in the 1950s. He thought he was looking for a skin compound. He found the molecule that governs how every human body on Earth responds to light and darkness. He had no idea. He published his findings. He moved on to other research. Decades passed before anyone fully understood what he had isolated in those glands. But the molecule itself had been doing its job long before Lerner found it, long before the television existed, long before the electric light bulb existed. It has been responding to darkness for as long as human beings have been sleeping. It still is. Every night, in your body, it is waiting for the same signal it has always waited for. Not a timer, not a television. Darkness. Real darkness. The kind that tells every cell in your body the same thing it has always been told at the end of every day. The day is done. The repair can begin. Switch off the screen tonight. Your body already knows what to do next. It has always known.